Hello friends, this is Prem welcoming you back to yet another interesting episode on the channel Casual Chats. A couple of days back when I was traveling to my office in my office cab, a conversation started about the environment that we are working upon. The moment this conversation started, everyone in the cab was expressing their viewpoints on how bad or how toxic their workplace environment was. This made me curious to understand how people across industries feel on how their work patterns are. When checking online about a few surveys conducted on this topic, I was actually shocked to know that 87% of the people think that their workplace is toxic. I was also curious to know if this thought process had a difference in opinion with the different age groups and people with various experiences. But the hard truth was everyone is feeling the same. In my personal experience, I am no exception to it. Fortunately for me, there was a very short period of time where I felt uncomfortable in the workplace that I was in, and with the help of the people around, I was able to move out of it faster. In today's podcast, I thought I would share a few tips on how I was able to overcome the scenario that I was in and get back to the right path. But before that, I would like to know how you feel about your workplace. Please do mention it in the comments and I would love to read about it. Staying away from what we think is a toxic influence is the very first thing that I wanted to talk about. Toxic people are usually very high in energy and they have a larger reign of influence on people around them. It is really necessary not to feed in to the energy that they have. So, staying away or not reacting to the controversial points that they feed in is very important. If you pretend to accept what they say, that boosts their confidence. At the same time, if you stand up against them, they enter into a debate and make sure their point that they have decided is made. We should remember pretty well that they have not asked for your opinion, but they have just expressed what they had thought to you. Since they have already made up their mind, whatever opinion that you throw against them, positive or negative, is not going to change anything. So staying away makes things easier for all of us. The second point that I wanted to talk about is realizing the change that's happening within us. I often see people who change over time. The same people who feel their managers and their co-workers are a negative influence on them tend to change slowly into the same mindset as they continue to work for a prolonged period of time with the same group. This change is completely natural because any person gets molded in character by what they see around them. It is the same reason why it is very important, at the same time difficult, to understand the changes that is happening within us and continue to stick on to our original ideologies, which will make our life easier and better. The third point that I wanted to talk about is to report people whom we feel is creating an impact on our routine. As simple as this sounds, it is one of the most hardest things to do. The most common approaches that people generally follow is either staying away or to get along. But beyond the stage of staying away, it is equally necessary that we go ahead and report the influence that they are creating around us. When doing so, we will have to ensure that we keep the organization's priorities in front and exhibit how the influence that the toxic people create is impacting the entire team's coordination. In my personal experience, when I had an opportunity to report such a behavior to one of my managers, I was surprised to see the changes that happened in the person whom I reported on. I did not know if the change was temporary or permanent. but I was happy that some change that happened was better than none. The next point that I wanted to talk about is to make a decision at a right time. There are a few companies or projects that had kind of developed a toxic work culture by itself. The entire worker group of these projects or companies believe that they are on the right path. When you get into this kind of a scenario, and how much ever hard you try to make the adjustments or try to set things right, it is not going to work. These are places where you try to stand up against a work culture that has been already completely set in. And how much ever you try, at the end you would be exploited. At these junctures, it is practical to take the hard call and move away from the complete project or the company. The fifth point that I thought of sharing is to document the work happening. In general, in all the companies, lot of work happen over a common communications. Your manager or your coworker says something to you, you go have it done and that's done. But when you feel you are in a toxic workplace, it is very important to safeguard ourselves first. What better option than documenting the conversations that happen? Whenever a casual conversation has happened and a work has been given to you, just write out an email to that person mentioning, as discussed, this is what was given and this is going to be the job done. There is no mandate that the mail that you have sent should be acknowledged by the other person. Just in case something happens at a later point of time, this mail will be there as proof to save you. An additional benefit of having things documented is this will help you when you fill your appraisal forms. I had made a separate podcast about filling appraisal forms, and if you haven't heard that, I am linking it above. You can listen to it and you may get some interesting points to fill up your self-appraisals. The last point that I wanted to talk about is kind of psychological. As we work with people with such toxic mindset, it's natural to have a lot of negativity around us. In order to follow the above discussed things, it is important that we try to stay positive. As I was telling earlier in this podcast, the influence around us plays a major role in molding our character. Something that will help us be that way is to empathize for the people who are on the wrong side. No person has a base motive of making your day hell. By the courses of decisions that they have made in their life and the influence of people around them, they have been molded this way. We trying to brand them to be a complete bad influence will not help us psychologically in any way. We will have to understand that the way you have brought up is different and the way I have molded up is different. So it is not going to get set between both of us, and this would be the right time that we part our ways. This ideology will stop you from seeing the other person as an enemy. He is just a different person with a different thought. Thank you for listening to this episode of my podcast, and I sincerely hope I was able to add some value. If you had liked the content that I presented, please click on the like button and subscribe for more such podcasts. I would also love to hear your feedback in the comment section, and do let me know if there are some topics that you want me to talk about. Until next time, this is Prem signing off.